And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Episode 289. Here we are recording on the day after. I should actually have put this out, but it's neither here nor there. We are back at it again. Full disclosure, came off of two comedian interviews in the past hour, and my voice is still not in top form, so I'm like 5 octaves higher than what I usually sound like. Also, I was at an evening workout on Wednesday, two of them that I screamed at, and so my voice is so I tried to have tea this morning where I thought that would help. And also I had to re-record LinkedIn logs. No joke. This is no joke. I recorded on Tuesday. I was about to put it out. I noticed 27 minutes in that the audio had stopped at 30 seconds. That's not a joke. So then I go, oh, you know what? I'm going to finish out the episode. I record with OBS. Usually that records audio as well with the video. It's never as good, but it is the same equipment. Hopefully I can just take it from there and edit from there. I open up VLC video media encoder. I encode the video from OBS. There's no audio. The Zoom is still plugged in. The Zoom H6 I've been using for years. The Blue Yeti is on. I'm getting noise from the not noise. I'm getting the sound from the microphone. And then so I go, you know what? I just have to re-record the episode. I'll do it tomorrow. A couple hours later, I'm sitting here checking email, as one does on the computer, and I still have everything open because I just got up because I was so frustrated. I still have everything open, and I say something in the mic, like I just say something, and the waveforms don't move anywhere, and I go, wait a minute. I take my little hand, my big old hand, and I touch the XLR cable that's plugged into the mic for the in the Zoom for the Blue Yeti, and I just kind of touch it, and it moves back into the Zoom, so it had been unplugged by me. Unfortunately, so I had to re-record the whole episode, and it was a good one too. No, it wasn't. 289, 3 minutes in. One of those minutes was the entire theme song. You might hear golf. You might hear golf on in the background. I am watching the RBC Heritage. Today is the same day that Pearl Jam released Dark Matter. Is that the name of the album? Dark Matter, I believe that's what it is. Let me look it up. It's on my phone. I downloaded it. I was listening to it at the gym. It is called Dark Matter. It's fantastic. I enjoyed it. And I've listened to it 3 times, twice at the gym, once because I was driving and I went, you know what? I was going to do my grocery shopping. I thought maybe Pearl Jam is going to have the album on their station on Sirius XM. And guess who was right? It was me. So there you go. I listened to it as I drove around, hitting my stores up. Trader Joe's, Target, Publix. And one of those stores, I went there for one thing because it was on BOGO. It was Publix. I went there for bread. I went there for Dave's Killer bread. It's fantastic bread. I didn't want to spend $7 on it. It was BOGO at Publix. I said, might as well get it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's very boring. Any Hoosers, that's what that was. Taylor Swift also dropped an album. Not just one. She dropped a double album. 15 more songs on top of the 16 she already dropped at midnight. That's crazy. I mean, good for her. I've yet to sit down with it because, again, I was busy. Grocery shopping. And then I had these 2 interviews. You'll see those in the future. There's also a couple more coming. If I'm correct, there's 3 more coming. One of them is with somebody I've spoken with before. And I'm excited to speak with that person again. Also, I might have just found the fifth story. Speaking of which, let's get into the stories. Disney wants a 24/7 streaming channels, wants a set of streaming. I've talked a lot today. They want a set of 24-hour streaming channels, 24/7, over there on Disney Plus. So imagine what's going on at Pluto TV. If you don't know, the Pluto TV website / app. You go there, you can watch. There's a Star Trek channel. There's a Pluto comedy movies channel. There's a SpongeBob SquarePants channel. Go to Paramount Plus. You'll find the same stuff. SpongeBob SquarePants channel, action movies channel, Star Trek channel. You go to Peacock. You'll see channel of Hallmark movies, of SNL sketches, and they're running 24 hours. And they also have ads in them. But the most important part is that I don't think the Paramount Plus one does, because every time I've turned it on, it's always been in the middle of something, and if I leave it on, then it'll just be playing SpongeBob or Frasier or whatever. But more importantly, these things run as long as you have it on your television, and they have their own schedules, and sometimes they're themed. Like I said, for the Hallmark channel, the Hallmark movies channel, during the Christmas time, they play Christmas movies. Couldn't think of something because I said during the Christmas time. I'm flubbing all over the place. Now, this comes from Emma Roth over at The Verge. Disney reportedly wants to bring always-on channels to Disney Plus. That's a very succinct way of putting it. We're getting a revamped Disney Plus app. Well, we're already in the midst of it. Hulu on-demand stuff has been brought over. At some point, maybe they'll bring over ESPN Plus. Maybe they'll bring over some of the ESPN stuff. When that new ESPN standalone streaming app premieres next year. Now, this is according to a report from The Information. There's going to be Disney also wants always-on channels. The channels would be similar to what you see at Pluto or Tubi or Paramount Plus or Peacock. They could take away the choice in when it comes to what you want to watch. So they could have a Star Wars channel, just full of the stuff from the 70s, the Christmas stuff, the animated stuff, the movies, the Star Wars Rebels, which I just finished. It was a fantastic show. Star Wars Resistance. The rest of the things that I'm not a fan of. I like The Mandalorian. Maybe I'll watch Andor. Who knows? Did I do my Andor joke yet? The Andor, but they call it but always, but also. I think that's what it was. They could also have Marvel series, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, all the seven or eight different Spider-Man shows, Spider-Man Unlimited, Spider-Man 90s, which was the prequel of Spider-Man Unlimited, the Josh Keaton one. It's that Spectacular Spider-Man, I believe. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Oh, the other Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, the one from like the 60s, I think. That's 5. Let's see if I can do this. The one on MTV, which is the one of Spider-Man 2003, I think that's what it is. The one starring Drake Bell, I think that might be Ultimate Spider-Man as well. That's 7. Let's see how many Spider-Man TV shows there were. Spider-Man TV shows. I know I'm forgetting one. We got Spider-Man 94-98, Ultimate Spider-Man 2012 to 2017, Spider-Man's Amazing Friends from 81 to 83, not 60s. The animation was that bad, though. Spectacular Spider-Man, fantastic show, 2008-2009. Spider-Man, The New Adventures. I don't know what Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is. Avengers Assemble, which is not his. Superhero Squad show is not his either. How many Spider-Man shows have there been? Okay, so I'm on Wikipedia. Spidey Super Stories. This is a great way to do this. Which is from 74 to 77. Amazing Spider-Man, which is 77. Spider-Man, 78. That's a Japanese show. All right. Spider-Man 1967, which I was correct about. There was a 61. Okay. Spider-Man 1981. Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, 1981. Spider-Man 94, Spider-Man Unlimited 99, Spider-Man The New Animated Adventures 2003, Spectacular Spider-Man 2008, Ultimate Spider-Man 2012, Spider-Man 2017, which is the remodel, the revamp of Ultimate Spider-Man, Spidey's Amazing Friends, and there's a new show called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So in all those, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the new one's going to be 11. All right. Anyway, there's no details about when it can happen. But however, the rumored move aligns with Disney's goals of keeping viewers glued to its Disney Plus app, which now includes a tile for Hulu. This is a lot of the free ad supported stuff are fast. This is kind of how you see things kind of going towards. Pluto and Tubi both have been doing exceptionally well for their segment when compared to people lopping off subscription services left and right. With the exception of Netflix, which seems to be it added 9 million people this past quarter, which is just astounding to me. How people complain about, I don't want to, how come they're taking away my ability to share, and then my ability to share my profile, and then they just go, I guess I'll just sign up again. How could I miss Physical 100? I'm almost done. I watch things very slowly. I'm waiting for that Pop-Tart movie. I'm going to grab a box of Pop-Tarts. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to chop them up while I watch the movie. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Max introduce something like this. But this would, as much utility as this would add to your streaming platform, putting ads into it kind of diminishes what it is. But the idea that I can go to Peacock and just hit play on the only channel I would keep it on is SNL. The fact that I can just go there and hit play and it'll have a themed episode. It's all Will Ferrell sketches or all sketches featuring musical talent, which is never what it is. But it's interesting that that can happen, and it can work for Paramount Plus. I think it works, as buggy as that app is. It really works for Paramount Plus because it is great just to sit down and have a Star Trek channel, and it just plays Star Trek episodes, which is something that really speaks to me. So it would make sense to have a Star Wars channel or a Marvel movies channel or a Marvel TV shows channel where people can, expect to see either a marathon of Daredevil or to see them play Daredevil, then Jessica Jones, and then Iron Fist, and then Luke Cage, and then The Defenders, and just do one episode at a time of that. Whatever, who cares? Let's go on. This next one comes from... I did this in the wrong order. Oh, yeah, who cares? This one comes from Jake Cantor at Deadline. BBC News Channel presenters take legal action citing age and gender discrimination. Now, if you watch news regularly, you'll notice that there's different, I'm going to call them presenters for every different news channel. Yes, that makes sense. For every different. So for CNN, you're going to see Tapper and Blitzer and those people. When you go to NBC Nightly News, you go because you trust NBC Nightly News, but you also in part stay for Lester. And then for CBS, you do the same thing for Nora. And then for ABC, you do the same thing for I See His Face. I can't quite say it, his name. I forgot it. And then for PBS, you go to Amna and Jeff. And if you're watching Fox, then, what are you doing with life? If you go to MSNBC, you're going for Jen Psaki or Rachel Maddow. The thing is, or Ari, the thing is, if something happened and you just never saw, let's take Let's go to ABC. I'll pick some on ABC. And you never saw Stephanopoulos or Robin Roberts. You just one day they just disappeared and you didn't see her for a year. That would really stand out in your mind, and that would be something that is kind of not unfortunate. It is unfortunate for them, but it is you lose that place loses credibility. Good Morning America would lose credibility if Robin Roberts just disappeared for a year, and we saw her online, and she was posting everything, but we just never heard word about it. That's what happened at BBC with 5 presenters. One of them who I know, not know personally, but who I've seen because I watch BBC News. And I've seen her do her work, but Martine Croxall, as well as Karen Gion, Geeta Guru Murthy, Kezia Madeira, and Anita McVeigh are all gone from BBC News, and there's just never been word as to why. They're 5 senior female BBC News channel presenters, and now they've taken legal action against BBC because they were just taken off the air. It's the highest profile tribunal faced by the BBC since the corporation, Jesus Christ, Chad, lost a landmark gender pay battle with Newswatch host Samira Ahmed in 2020. I don't remember that at all, but I know who Samira Ahmed is. That's I don't remember that. Wow, interesting. Details of the case against the BBC are not in the public domain, but the tribunal listing makes clear that the complaint involves issues including age and sex discrimination, as well as equal pay. Wow. It represents a significant ratcheting up of a dispute over the protracted BBC News channel restructure. If you haven't noticed in the past, or if you don't know, in the past year they've had a very big restructuring over there at BBC in the past couple of years, and it's noticeable, to say the least. The female journalist failed to land a chief presenter role when the BBC merged its international and domestic news channels last year. They alleged that the BBC rigged the hiring process by predetermining its preferred list of chief presenters before applications opened, which is, I'm sure it's something, even in your job, even in my jobs, I've seen happen before. It's essentially you're applying for a job. Let's go through things I've done. I apply to jobs, at CNN that I am fit for. And even though I had an internal email, as little as 3-4 months ago, they still hire their friends. Anyway, let's just say. A senior BBC HR executive was not persuaded by their argument, despite a successful candidate saying they had a, quote, tap on the shoulder from managers. Deadline understands that this quote-unquote whistleblower evidence was not referenced in the internal review, with sources describing it as, quote, a sham. It is, it's that is just something that is just disgusting to see. Disgusting is not the word I want to say, but it's what I could find in my brain at the moment. I had 2 interviews today. Hey, shut up. It's just something that is unfortunate to see, and it is, it just takes away credibility. You don't want to see this, especially when it's just 5 people who have been doing their jobs. And if BBC has the option, which we have seen all at every job juncture in the world, you have the option to go to these people and shift them to other areas, which it does not seem that BBC was really forthright in doing. If these women were able to pick up roles as contributors or something, but if giving the other person a leg up, as opposed to these 5 women, or the other people to get a leg up, as opposed to these 5 women who have the skills to lead, it sucks to see, because in the news world, we saw Walter Cronkite do the news for a long time. We saw Johnny Carson do his Late Show for a long time. Jimmy Fallon wants to do his late Tonight Show for as long as possible, and people can exist in these worlds. They just have to have the backing and the support around them. And these women definitely still have the skills to do so. So I don't know why that they have to be ushered off in the side like this. But BBC's loss. This next story comes from the New York Times, written by Nicole Sperling. Netflix's new film strategy. More about the audience, less about the auteurs. Netflix has been changing things in the past couple of days. I also want to reference this other news article that I literally just found as I was doing this episode. This comes from Alex Weprin. Netflix subscriber numbers fueled a decade of frenzied streaming bets. That chapter is over. So we've, as I mentioned in passing, Netflix is doing this. They're done with talking about their streaming numbers. They're done with talking about subscribing numbers, rather, and they can do this. They've cracked 270 million. We're gonna get milestones, so probably at 300 million, then that's when they're gonna announce everything. But from this point forward, they're not gonna talk about, hey, we've got 7 million new subscribers, or hey, we lost 10 million subscribers, because that is something that really affects stock price. And if they don't have to do it, they're the leader in television and film right now, then they won't do it. Those days are a thing of the past. Dan Lin arrived. This comes from the New York Times article. Dan Lin arrived as Netflix's new film chief on April 1st, and he has already started making changes. He laid off around 15 people in the creative film executive group, including one vice president and 2 directors. That entire department is about 150 people, and that was a very striking thing. Because I remember when that happened a couple of weeks ago, because nobody had seen layoffs at Netflix compared to Paramount and Warner Brothers and even Disney. Like we've seen layoffs there, and even though they're surprising, we still kind of expect them. But at Netflix, we never really see people laid off. Not that I'm saying that that's en masse compared to what happened at Paramount and Warner Brothers as of late. But it is something that we don't see. Lin also reorganized his film department by genre rather than by budget level, and has indicated that Netflix is no longer only the home of expensive action flicks like The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, or Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot and Dwayne Johnson. Rather, Mr. Lin's mandate is to improve the quality of the movies and produce a wider spectrum of films, different budget levels, the better to appeal to a varied interest of Netflix's 260 million subscribers. He will also be changing the formulas for how talent is paid, meaning no more enormous upfront deals. In other words, Netflix's age of austerity is well underway. The company declined to comment for this article. So for movies like Maestro, Bradley Cooper got just a butt ton of money. It was produced by Netflix, and it cost around $80 million to make, and it did not win any of those Oscar awards. So what does Netflix have to show for that in the end? They had this film. Well, I'll never watch it because there's no people of color in it. But and the same thing goes for Red Notice. They have this film with 3 of the biggest stars in the world, Gal and Dwayne and Ryan, but it cost so much money. And yes, it is going to birth a franchise. But after this initial watch, people aren't staying for Red Notice. They signed up for Red Notice, but they're not staying for Red Notice. They stay for Stranger Things, or they return for Stranger Things. Nobody, from what I can guess, what I can venture with the ideas like this, nobody's coming back and going, Red Notice is great. I'm going to rewatch Red Notice because I let go of Netflix 3 months ago, and I really want to watch Red Notice. Mr. Lin's predecessor as Netflix's film chief, Scott Stuber, took the job in 2017 when the company had no track record as a place for original movies. In 2021, the streamer hit its apex of production, declaring that it would release a new movie a week. And if you don't remember that, they were doing every single Friday you would get a new movie, and at one point, every single Tuesday you would get a new stand-up comedy special. That's too much. That's way too much. And I think, and especially in the streaming era right now, the streaming world, we have to be okay with not having a new thing every single week. There was I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was definitely within spitting distance of this month. There was a week where there wasn't anything like big. When I say big, something that people are like, we're talking about the Pop-Tart movie. We're talking about Wonka appearing on Max. I'm saying there was nothing big or substantial on any streaming platform. Not Disney, not Max, not Netflix, not Paramount, not Peacock, not Apple TV. And it felt nice just having a baseline of nothing. And just going to the app and just to whatever app and just trying to catch up on whatever you're watching. And because the way Netflix does it, and I know people argue that they love every Netflix movie. Damsel, I'm gonna watch Damsel. Senora Holmes, is that what it's called? I don't know what that movie's called. I'll never watch it. There's no people who go there. There was but it's, again, I've said this before. Netflix's approach to making, or I mean now, if Mr. Lin has his way, it won't be this way. But their approach to making shows and making movies used to be, let's just get all this stuff, put in paint cans, throw it at the wall, and see what sticks. And a lot of it would fall to the ground before it even got to the wall. And some of it would stay on the wall, and that's what you had to paint the room. But I don't know, I lost the through line to the analogy. But that could only take them so far. And even if they are the most expensive streaming platform at $23 a month, $23 a month, and still the most successful at close to $270. She writes $260 in here, but it's $270 is what was reported. Then I mean it. They couldn't lax on those laurels for so long. I don't know if lax is the word I was looking for, but Lin, he worked at Warner Brothers. If you follow the world, then you might know that he's done a lot of the big franchises like It. And the Lego movie franchise. He also did Aladdin for Disney, and he wants to make the movies better at Netflix, but in the same vein, much like when I left, wasn't my choice. The contract was not renewed. When I was at Warner Brothers for both Cartoon Network and for CNN, they also, not only they want things better, but they also want it cheaper, and that's tough to do. And also they want them less frequently at Netflix too. They want to develop their own material rather than waiting for the projects from producers and agents to come to them, according to two people familiar with this thinking who spoke blah, blah, blah. The approach should help them have more say over the quality of the films. I mean, they do have say over things. I just that doesn't make sense to me, because oftentimes you'll hear someone who, a director or producer, go, "Oh, we were able to do whatever we wanted at Netflix," but if they want, they don't give, Netflix doesn't give notes. But if they truly feel that they want control, then Netflix should give notes. Warner gives notes, and that's just how TV and movies are made. But whether you give too many or whether it can be a collaborative effort, then that's up to you. You just have to give the notes when it makes sense. And that's why I'm back at the Hollywood Reporter article. Netflix shares topped at $600, but that's in 2021 during the pandemic. We're in the height of the pandemic because everybody's at home watching stuff, and they trusted Netflix. They trusted Peloton. One of those is doing well. You see the bike in the background. I still pay for it. By the end of April 2022, after reporting a surprising loss of subscribers, shares tumbled below $200. And we saw that. We saw that reflected in their work. People were kind of fed up with what was going on, what is going on at Netflix, with what was, I guess. That we were seeing all this crap, and it really wasn't, it didn't have any staying power. I guess that's the phrase I was looking for, was staying power. The past year has seen subscriber numbers rise swiftly, juiced by the company's password sharing crackdown. That effort isn't done yet, but it is safe to say that the end is in sight. And now, as Netflix is, hold on, I gotta find the person that they just quoted here because I'm skipping around, and that's what happens when you read as good as me. Co-CEO Greg Peters, co-CEO to Ted Sarandos, Greg Peters, co-CEO to Ted Sarandos, who made $50 million last year, at a time when there were, and I'll get into this in next week's episode of LinkedIn Logs, at a time when people didn't have jobs because of the strike, when there were months gone by when there was no money being brought in to the people who are below the line, to the actors, to the producers, to the directors. Ted Sarandos and David Zaslav of Warner Brothers Discovery both reeled in $50 million. I know $22 million of David Zaslav's was stock and $22 million was a bonus. That's ridiculous, though. To have a bonus and stock and pull in $50 million, that's insane. It's just, that's disgusting to me. But as Greg Peters put it, just yesterday, as of this recording, we've also evolved our pricing and plans with multiple tiers, different price points across different countries. I think those price points are going to become increasingly different. In other words, Netflix is going to change their previous strategy, lowering the cost of its service in some countries, maybe adding ads in others, and skewing both subscribers and other places in the process. All that means that the historical simple math that we all did, numbers of members times the monthly price, is increasingly less accurate in capturing the state of the business. So what he's saying is, if there's 100 million subscribers in the U.S. and they're all paying the average of $15.99, that doesn't equate to what's happening in Europe. And if there's 78 million subscribers over there and they're paying the equivalent of $18.99. We're not going to be silent on members as well. We'll periodically update when we grow and we hit certain milestones. We'll announce those. It's just not going to be part of the regular reporting. Apple did the same thing in 2018 when they stopped reporting on how many iPhones and Macs they sold. Now, in lieu of that, they announce how much money those have made. Netflix's ad tier is growing quickly, with executives predicting that it'll become a meaningful contributor to its bottom line in 2025. But what happens when they have to raise the prices on that? Because eventually they will. When that goes from being, I think it's $8 or $9 to $10 or $11. So what happens at that point? And then how are they going to keep innovating? How are they going to keep making us pay more and make it make sense for both of us? Make us want Netflix like it's the thing we have to have. Like if people only have 2 or 3 streaming subscriptions, Netflix is going to be your number one, no matter what, and that's what they want. All right. I think that's a good place to stop for that one. And then, yeah, just leave it at that hanging. And this last one comes from James Hibbard over at The Hollywood Reporter. A24's new AI-generated Civil War ads generate controversy. Civil War is a fantastic movie. I saw it last week. I enjoyed my time with it. I'm not somebody who's going to tell you to go watch a movie. I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the thing that stands out, and you have to see this. But Alex Garland did a fantastic job. This is actually A24's fastest growing movie, fastest and biggest movie so far, I guess. But the most controversy out of this entire run has been there are 5 images that they've sent out, or at least I don't know how many, but there's 5 that are in this article that tease post-apocalyptic scenes in major United States cities that have been torn apart by the conflict. but they're all AI generated, and none of them are in the movie. The movie cost A24 around $50 million, and none of those scenes have ever appeared in the movie. People are pointing this out, and they're saying this is AI generated, and we don't appreciate this. There's backlash in the technology. The AI work also resulted in some notable geographic and landmark mistakes and a bit of a quote-unquote uncanny valley weirdness. The ads were posted on Instagram, and they used as physical posters in a couple of locations. A source close to the movie said the images help imagine the nationwide impact of the film's fictional war. The source said these are AI images inspired by the movie. The entire movie is a big what if, and so we wanted to continue the thought on social, powerful imagery of iconic landmarks with that dystopian realism. And the first image I see here is the Sphere in Las Vegas is burned to a crisp, and you see the shell of it mostly covered in ash, as well as the rest of the city. It looks like it's been burned as well. And then the one under that is, I don't know where that is, Chicago, and it looks like there's a tower on fire, and there's a bunch of boats in the water all trying to escape under. This is again what people were fighting against in the strikes, is that we don't want to see this unfettered AI being used as a way to promote something without somebody getting paid, because they could take those photos and actually make something of it. And as I was talking, I was just thinking, hey, why don't we just use real things that are happening? There's refugees from Mexico, from all over the world, just sleeping on the streets of Atlanta, San Francisco, New York, Dallas, what have you. Why don't we use them in photos? There's a guy. I hate to say this, but a guy did set himself on fire in front of the Trump trial today in New York. That's something. You don't have to. I'm not saying use that, but there things have happened. Why don't you use that? Because we are kind of in a dystopian nightmare. The recent Late Night with the Devil controversy seems like the closest comparison, if an imperfect one. The IFC Films / Shudder release used AI to help create some title cards for the 1970s era late night talk show that's set in the film. The usage received strong backlash on social media. The film's directors Cameron and Colin Carnes defended the usage, saying, quote, "In conjunction with our amazing graphics and design team, all of whom worked tirelessly to give this film the 70s aesthetic that we always imagined, we experimented with AI for 3 still images, which we edited further and ultimately appear as very briefly interstitials in the film." What doesn't make sense, okay, we're in this world where now AI is going to be used as a part of things that are being made. Whether it's a car that's going to be able to self-drive itself, or in a Samsung Galaxy phone where I can take a screenshot and circle to search if I want to do that. But that's what the strikes were for. They were competing against not only residuals, but also, and not only getting livelihoods for people, but also they didn't want AI to become this rampant thing that was easily be used. And we don't know to the extent they can say, these directors can say, we made AI create these images, and then we touched them up. We did what we could. That still makes people take a step back and go, you did not trust your designers enough to make those title cards, because movies and TV shows have been going for decades, long enough for you to not have to go to Chat GPT or to Bing Copilot and go, it's title card for a 70s talk show, but also it looks weird and there's a horror aspect to it. I hit the mic. It seemed to work. Alex Garland also did the movie Ex Machina, which also was a movie about the dangers of AI. It's a fantastic film. I don't ever want to watch it again. It's very eerie, very scary. Not scary. Very horny. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me. I'm going to mention it one more time. Take a shot. Every time I mention it, go back, re-listen to this episode, re-watch it. If you listen to it, watch it. If you watch it, listen to it. Take a shot every time I mention that I had 2 interviews before this. That's why my voice is hoarse. Of course. And you can see me talk to those people at a later point in the future, probably next week. It'll be great. But I also talk to other people as well. People in the industry, comedians, musicians, producers, directors, writers. Not always commodity people. You can see that on cpluscomedy.com. You can also see video versions of this show on youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can also see video versions of the other shows, Late Night Lately, which is the late night show, and LinkedIn Logs, which is the jobs podcast. Both of those are fantastic. You can subscribe to those wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at cpluscomedy. You can follow me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. And listen, I got to get a 4th shot in there. I had 2 interviews before this, so I think you should really thank me for my service. No big deal. Just whatever. Okay, hopefully the audio for this one recorded. Bye.